For me, the most fascinating thing about the New Deal is that it is in large measure constructed in New York City. That when Franklin Roosevelt goes to Washington, he's not going alone. He is going with a set of ideas and experiences which he has gleaned by working in New York City and New York State politics for the previous decades, and he is going with a platoon of New Yorkers from various aspects of New York life who also have got programs, who have got ideas which have been tested and worked out on the streets of New York City. In essence, I would argue that what happens in 32 and 33 is that New York invades Washington. New York boards and seizes Washington, but instead of treating it as a conquered country, what they do is say, Washington has got to do what New York City has been doing for all these years, and do it on a colossal new scale with the resources that only the federal state can command. It must intervene in the workings of the economy. It must not, in fact, just sit back and be laissez-faire in its attitude. It must seize the moment and operate on a very different set of parameters than the previous administration. When you look at the New Deal, there are a lot of people from around the country who are players, but who's sitting at Roosevelt's right hand? It's Harry Hopkins, who comes up through the social work and the welfare bureaucracy in New York City, and is the guy who's sitting there and, starts signing zillions of dollars worth of checks. On his left hand is Eleanor, who is in fact plugged into the settlement house movement and a whole network of labor reformers. There's Frances Perkins, who's going to be his Secretary of Labor. She was back in the Triangle Fire days. She's in fact continuing and applying lessons that were learned in that period on a national level. The list just goes on and on and on. There's this squadron of New Yorkers who are installed in high places and begin to promote New York City programs.